Well, I'm joined now by the SNP's Bill Kidd and by the co-convener of the Scottish Green Party, Patrick Harvie. Bill Kidd, I'm curious as to what the SNP makes of this proposal to build new coal-fired power stations.
Well, new coal-fired power stations will have to be looked at. It's one of the elements that may come into consideration, but it would have to be on the basis that it was going to be a much different kind of coal-fired power station than what has been proposed before.
Hang on a second.
Yes.
So we have the SNP ruling out nuclear power on the grounds that it's supposedly unsafe. But you would entertain the idea of building new power stations based on the dirtiest fuel in the world.
The fact of the matter is that new systems of carbon capture will change entirely the way that the production of electricity comes from coal-fired power stations. But it's
carbon capture and storage has never been proven as a commercial technology.
It's actually one of the elements that has to be developed, and there was going to be a potential to actually develop that
right. Will you give
in
a
Scotland
commitment
before the British government pulled the plug on it.
Will you give a commitment that the SNP will not give the go-ahead to the construction of new coal-fired power stations before carbon capture and storage can be fitted to those power stations and has been proven as a commercial technology?
Well, I can't give a commitment because I'm not in the position to do so, but what I can say is that that is not the direction that we would go in. It would have to be a proven technology first. That was the question, and that's
so
the answer.
hang on, it would have to be a proven technology, carbon capture and storage would have to be proven before an SNP government would approve the proposal to build a coal-fired plant at Hunterston. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not a minister, but that is my understanding.
What do you make of this?
It's not my understanding. My understanding is that less than a couple of months ago, Bill and all of his colleagues voted in favour of the National Planning Framework, which includes, as a national development, this new status in planning, these two new coal-fired power stations. Now, what that means is that if a proposal comes forward, it cannot be challenged on the basis of need. It's already effectively been approved through the planning process, and it would be strange to think if Bill does become a minister at that point that he might be looking back and thinking maybe I shouldn't have voted for that back in 2009.
Your view would be, unless and until this carbon capture business is proven, then there shouldn't be any more coal-fired power stations.
Absolutely. I would apply that to the UK, who's, UK government's pushing Kings North, as well as to Scotland.
But what's your reply then to the point that I'm sure the SNP would make, and certainly Jim Murphy would make, is look, you've got to have baseload electricity, and it's all, these Greens are all very well, but you effectively rule out everything other than stuff that's not very reliable.
The fundamental challenge is to move away from consuming the Earth's capital and move on to living on the Earth's income. Living within our ecological means. That means we have to think not about the kind of predict and provide model that used to apply to transport.
Hang on,
how much do we need, and we'll build that.
The basic point is, look, you can't rely, as Jim Murphy said, on purely wind power or wave power, whatever, because it doesn't work all the time. You've got to have what they call a base load from reliable power.
Nobody I know is suggesting that we rely purely on
nuclear
wind.
And you rule out coal.
Well, there are other renewables that can provide baseload. You can also use storage to turn wind into something that can provide baseload. And fundamentally, we have to get away. Oh, sure we can. We have to get away from the idea that we just consume ever more energy and electricity. Okay. We have to start conserving.
And what's your? I mean, so your reply, if I understand you, to Jim Murphy's point that we need baseload electricity is, unlike Patrick Harvie, you accept the case. And your argument is, oh, we'll just build coal-fired power stations.
No, that's your argument. I never said that in the first place. My argument is that Scotland has a quarter of the capacity of the whole of Europe for wind power and tidal power, wave power. Now, that is the element that we should be developing.
But there's a very obvious point. It's very expensive. Your idea of Scotland concentrating on renewables works as long as we're part of a UK energy market. If there was an import-export frontier down in the Scottish border, you would be having to sell this at commercial rates to south of the border with no remaining baseload electricity up here. It would be hugely expensive.
The fact is that we're actually being stopped from getting a commercial rate at the moment by Westminster. We wish to export our energy from Scotland because we have an overcapacity, and we certainly will have once we are allowed to develop the renewables.
But renewables gained from the renewables obligation, which is imposed on British energy companies by the British government.
Yes.
If it wasn't imposed on Scotland, then you'd have to sell it at commercial rates, and it's hugely expensive.
It's not hugely expensive as compared to nuclear power. Nuclear power is the most expensive kind of power, and that is the kind of power that which the British government is thrilled to.
All right. Do you agree with that?
The thing that's being missed by both Scottish and UK governments is the best thing that we can do in terms of economics, jobs and energy is to stop wasting it, help people to cut their bills.
All right. You've eaten the papers. I'm sorry about that. Good night. We'll be back next week.